3, 2, 1. Welcome to another edition of Indian Cine-MANIACs. What's going on, Maniacs?
Hey!
Hello.
Wow, that was one of your better ones.
The people are loving my black and white TV.
No,
so I'm gonna
everyone's
keep it.
talking about it.
Right. They're all talking about it.
Hey.
Hi, everybody. How's
Yeah.
everybody tonight?
Good.
Cine-MANIACs?
Excellent.
Hey, I just want to note how tan John is compared to his brother.
Yeah.
You were
Some
like
might
Jake
say
Collins.
too tanned.
Or some might say Ralph's pasty.
Oh, he's so healthy. You are very healthy looking.
Or some might think of the language of tonight's film, melanoma. I mean, Malayalam. Sorry.
Yeah. I always say Magda from Something
Milton.
About Mary. That's what I say. But
I say George
Nice.
Hamilton.
okay. So tonight we're
Awesome.
gonna review Drishyam, the 2013 version, and I believe it's the original version,
It is.
Yeah.
if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken.
It is.
Directed and written by Jithu Joseph. I hope I said that
Mhm.
right. And then we're going to flip it a little bit. John and Drew both got a copy of a dongle version we can watch with subtitles
In Hindi.
in Hindi. So we are going to push the wheel another week and do dongles, since that seems to be a film that everybody really wants us to take a look at. Right, John? Is that true? That is
Yeah,
true,
I just
right?
want to give it a little plug. So what I did was I bought the DVD, and it was $50, and I didn't know it wasn't in Hindi. It was in Telugu and Tamil. Then I looked up the Hindi version. It was $150. So I said, "What the heck? We're watching subtitles anyway. So does it really make that big a difference?" And it really does, because it's not their real voices. You can kind of tell that. So Wolverina Pagan, who's a big fan of both our shows, she watches both the shows. Big
three
cinema
shows.
fan. She watches the 3 shows.
Right. It's-
She reached out to me and said that she had a DVD with English subtitles, that she would somehow get a version of it to us. So this morning she sent it over to me, and it's a beautiful copy of it, and it's got the it's in Hindi, and it has the English subtitles. So that's what we're going to watch next week instead of the viewer picked one. But you guys have wanted us to watch this forever, and we just haven't had a version that we could watch. Now we have it. I think we're all pretty excited about watching it. So thank
So
you.
we're not going to get to see it in
Wolverina.
Telugu.
No, yeah, you can. I have a copy of it in Telugu. I'll be happy to send that to you. But thank you,
Wolverina.
Wolverina. I appreciate that a
and
lot.
Drew also got a copy within the
Yeah, I
same
just
day,
found that
too,
out
so-
tonight. Yeah.
So
Well, thank you, Wolverina, and I love your name.
Okay.
Wolverina Pagan.
Thank you,
All right.
fans.
So tonight, in honor of our Yippee-Ki-Yay Mother Podcast remake editions that we've been doing, that get tons and tons of views from us. I mean,
And
we watch
7
it a lot.
comments.
Some and a bunch of comments. This was one of our picks that the viewers put in the order, and I think this was 4th or 5th in the order. And it's Drishyam. We saw the 2015 version. I think the Hindi version of
Yep.
Drishyam.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to go back and see the original Malayalam version of Drishyam, just to see where it all started, because it was written by the same person. This one was actually, the 2013 version was actually directed by the writer, unlike the 2015 version. And it turns out this film has been done in all kinds of languages.
Yeah.
Yep.
6 or 7.
Well, all 5 major Indian languages, and I'm
Right.
looking here: Chinese, Indonesian, and Korean.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's
just
fascinating
announced.
on so many different levels. Now, watching this version after seeing the other one is a kind of redundant, because it's almost scene for scene exactly the same.
With some
Obviously-
telling differences.
What's that?
With some interesting differences.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But just my general overall feeling was I enjoyed watching this because I already knew what was going to happen. And I just kind of wanted to wallow in the mechanics of what was happening. And I think this one kind of laid that out a little more simply. The way he's explaining to them how the constant going back and recapping the stories he was telling his family to tell. And he was explaining why he did the things he did when he went to the theater, and they went to that religious thing, and they the meeting the bus drivers and all that stuff. I think this one explained that a little more explicitly, or because I had seen the other one, I just kind of got it. Maybe that's what was going on. And as we've all, I think John mentioned this, the actor in this is slightly more normal looking isn't the right word, but not as
he's more in every man.
Yeah, he's not as
Ajay
distinct as
Devgyn.
right. And actually, I read something on IMDb where the director kept going back to his wife saying, "This guy seems so low key.
Right.
I'm not sure it's going to work." And boom,
Right.
I mean, he's the main reason.
It's Mohanlal.
Yeah, he's one of the biggest stars of Malayalam cinema. And Meena, who plays his wife, they've done a number of movies together, and they're both. I mean, I think they're both excellent.
They have tremendous
He's like the
chemistry.
Jimmy Stewart of India.
Oh, is that true?
No, I just he was he got a big heart in his acting.
Yeah. So I mean, again, we knew all the mechanics from the 2015 version that we saw, so there were no surprises at all, except in the differences, which there really weren't that many differences. It was kind of the same thing. But you're comparing Tabu to the other lady playing the main police and the husband, the bad cop, the cop that's taking all the bribes and well, I'll say the violence in this one was a little more ramped up. The beating of the family was.
The beatings were much worse in this one than the other one.
I don't know, when they beat the little child, the little girl in the first Drishyam, that we watched, I thought that was more. I just felt so sorry for that little girl, more so than the this one that got beat up, the skinny girl,
Well, the 2015 one, they put like a cartoon slap noise in it. And this one, they didn't do that. I mean, this was, he was wailing on these people, much more so, I thought, than the other one.
Well, my question for my wife, is, did it seem less to you because of that? Or is it the surprise, when he hit the girl in the first version, we thought 2015, is it like you were just shocked that he's actually beating the girl, that he hit the girl? Which made it seem
one
worse.
thing we all had to get used to.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, one thing we all get used to watching these films is there's a lot of slapping going on in all the films. As we started watching these, kids are getting slapped.
Well, the cops slapping everybody.
Everybody's. But I
that
think
doesn't
like
play here. One thing about the slapping and everything of the family, it was shocking to see how they got away with that in the sub departments, the police departments. They call them sub. We've been over this before. What do they call them?
Sub-inspector.
Sub-inspectors.
Yeah.
That would not play in the United States because you have there's rights, there's citizens' rights.
Allegedly there are.
Is this
Well,
a comedy show?
if that would happen, somebody whip out their phone and they're going to be broadcasting that all over the
Not
USA.
in the police station.
Not in Baltimore. They just
Yeah, come on,
back in the
you're already
van,
in
close the
Baltimore.
doors, no more cell phone.
Take a little rough ride.
So, but I think I agree with John that in this one, I think it was a little more violent. I felt it was, and maybe because we were used, I don't know. Maybe
He was beating the crap out of them in this one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, it's pretty much the same. What I liked about it is I felt I got more into the mechanics of the way he was setting the whole thing up.
Right.
And it might be because I wasn't surprised by it this time, so I could concentrate on what he was doing. And the idea that life is like a movie, it's all about the visuals. That was said over and over, especially by the woman. I'm sorry, I don't know her name in the film. It's who Tabu played in the 2015, the special inspector.
Ajay Gita, I think her name was Gita.
The main woman whose
Gita,
son was the one who ended up getting.
Yeah.
And again, I had the same. I turned to Maria. I go, here we are again, rooting for a family that basically committed a murder and covered up the murder, and we're still rooting for these people to get away with it. It's kind of a weird, shocking thing. Anyway, what did you guys think?
That was one of my favorite parts of the. I can't call it the original, but of the first one that we watched was that cop is such a corrupt, ugly bastard of a terrible example of his job and as a person, and he's right. He's completely right about what he saw and what they did, and exactly. the guy who did that role in this, I think, he delivered. I mean, the fact that it's so incredibly similar is just a tribute to the quality of the script and the story it's telling, and I'm not surprised that of all the movies that we've seen, this would be one that really they kept remaking it, because it's one thing they dub everything in different languages, even though we're not allowed to watch all of them in those languages here. But I think it's just a solid story. If they end up making an American remake of this one day, I wouldn't be shocked, because you could see it transferring anywhere in the world about a man protecting his family. I will say, Mohanlal and Meena, I thought they were great. They felt more naturally domestic together, like they were cuter together. Not that Ajay Devgn and I'm sorry, I can't remember who played his wife in that. Not that they didn't seem like a real couple, but the energy that they had. I mean, the movie took, I feel like it took longer to get to the extortion part that sets off the crime. I didn't really mind, though, because I kind of enjoyed the playfulness and hanging out with the family, and they were just very sweet. And so that was an interesting difference. And that also, to me, that goes with the whole thing we keep saying about the films from these different industries, is that the Malayalam films they're smaller, they're more dramatic, they're more realistic. And that kind of felt like that, which doesn't make the Hindi version unrealistic, but that was like a bigger movie that felt like a big movie star to our Western eyes, I think.
Yeah, and technically it was a little, some of the wipe scenarios that they were doing, a little on the, I don't want to say
video toaster-ish.
a little bit, the freeze frame wipe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was one that I thought worked well, is when she's interrogating people and she's walking across and they're doing wipes at the same time. I thought that was an interesting way to present that. But the flashbacky stuff, it was a little bit on the, just a little bit cheesy, but didn't take away from my enjoyment of watching what went down go down. Except I kept thinking of Drishyam 2 and some dude watching him bury the guy, that whole thing.
Spoilers.
Oh, no, we haven't seen that one yet.
Which one?
Drishyam.
They made a Drishyam 2 with this guy.
I thought we talked about it.
No. This Malayalam, they made 2 more sequels to it.
Didn't we talk about Drishyam 2?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you talked about it on something else.
I think you might have done a 10-minute review.
Yeah, you didn't talk about it on the main show.
Well, that's review and recap, that show, not just reviews.
So the funny thing is I agree with Drew a lot. I definitely felt like this one took a little longer to get going, which I was actually pretty fine with. I felt like for the first hour, it was much lighter. Like there's it's a really kind of cute and amusing scene where, the main guy is watching his movies and he's like, I'm going to go see my wife. And that whole interaction, it was much longer than it was in the newer version that we saw, but it was just so lighthearted and kind of cute and funny. And like, he's like rolling over. He's like, I can, basically I don't need that. I can, hold out forever. And this is great. And of course they're not being really overt about it or whatever, but it just really had a fun, lighthearted vibe to it. Of course it gets very dark soon after that, but I really did like their chemistry. I thought it was terrific. And I did like the fact that he does feel much more like an everyman, Ajay Devgn, he's obviously a star,
Right.
And sometimes it's hard to wash that star off to play like an everyday guy. Not that I don't think he did a great job, and I really enjoyed that film as well.
Yeah.
But I really kind of like the fact that the first part of this movie felt a lot more lighthearted. I mean, Ajay Devgn, he's so serious, he's so intense that I don't see, at least in the stuff that I've seen him in so far, I don't see him doing lighthearted. Like he doesn't.
He does.
But
he does.
I'm sure he does. I mean, he's a good actor. He's got probably a wide range, but he just seems like the kind of guy that, hey, the intensity is what he does.
Right.
He's like Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood can do funny, but let's be realistic. The orangutan movies aren't the first thing that jump to your mind when you think about Clint Eastwood.
I don't think he called them the orangutan movies, though. But I'm just saying.
Well, I didn't. They have
every which way
but
loose,
and any which way you can.
Yeah, there you go. I thought you were talking about Planet of the Apes. Well, it's interesting that you said that, because now, if you think about this, right? So this was the first one that came out, and if you read the reviews, the trailers didn't give away anything in this movie. So when people sat and watched this movie,
that's what I was thinking about.
Before the intermission, what do they call it? It's not an intermission. Interval. It's a family movie, right? Because like you said, it's lighthearted. They're all getting along. So I thought family-wise, this movie did a much better job of like portraying a realistic family. That's what I thought. The husband and wife had a different relationship. I believed it. Much more believable to me. So now the interval hits, and then right away the second half of the movie turns into something completely different than what people came in to watch. And part of the reason why I liked this movie, but obviously the magic of this movie is not knowing anything,
Right.
and then how's he going to figure it out? Well, you knew everything, so it did take away from my enjoyment of the film. But I loved the lead's performance because, like Chris used it too, he seemed much more believable as just a dad trying to protect his family and not some kind of super guy. And that doesn't diminish the Hindi version, which I really enjoyed. I just think these movies are more grounded. And the characters, like the bad cop in the Hindi movie, which I loved, was almost cartoonishly bad. Where the guy in this movie, he wasn't cartoonishly bad till he started beating up people. Then it changed a little bit, but it wasn't Snidely Whiplash. And I also, I love Tabu. She had a much bigger presence than the woman who played the IG in this movie. So I did prefer that. And it was a completely different kind of movie. The only thing that annoyed me about this one, I don't know what it is about these smaller films, but the background music never stops. And I find that a little bit annoying. It kind of takes away when it really needs to be there. But overall, I mean, considering, and I'm trying to, again, it was the first one, and I'm trying to imagine the reaction that people must have had thinking, oh, this is one of those, and they had a musical number in the beginning, right? They're doing all this family stuff, and then boom, they hit you with the death scene. It's like, oh my God, all of a sudden it changed. So I really like that. I'm curious because one of the I think it was Vikram, the lead Vikram, it does a version of this too. That might be interesting just to see the differences in the way they make the film versus the story. Because I mean, again, I found myself wondering a little bit because I knew it was going to happen. Right. There were no surprises, so it kind of took away a little bit, even though I did like it. So anyway, that was just my little thought.
Yeah,
I remember. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ralph.
No, I'm good. Go.
I remember thinking, I wish that I didn't know as I was watching it, because there are a number of movies I've seen that I even though I knew what the twist was, and I'm not talking about like the ending of The Sixth Sense. I'm talking about like this, where the movie changes, like in The Descent when they find out they're not alone,
right?
Or in Beautiful Mind when all of the friends are in his head, all that kind of stuff. Like it would be, I didn't get this experience, but it would have been interesting to see those movies and really not know,
right?
Because of course that's how they're intended. Like I still remember watching, I don't know, like Seven, when Kevin Spacey shows up. You really have like really no idea what was about to happen, and it was genuinely a surprise. So this movie must have been not only such a surprise to watch for the audiences, but a really memorable experience.
Yeah.
That even though everybody could have seen these movies, and I know they don't, a Malayalam movie doesn't necessarily get seen all over India, even if it's dubbed in the other languages, they must have known it's worth it. It's worth doing this, because I got to imagine everybody enjoys this movie if you remotely like a family drama and a mystery. And this one, like you said, feels very real.
Well, and you're waiting for the little girl to break. You know that the little girl's going to break. And that's hinging on everything. And in this one, when he says, I thought she'd break earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that from the last one. He may have done it. We saw that.
Well, he said he thought they'd all break.
Yeah.
Not just the little one.
Yeah. But he wasn't counting her to last as long as she did. Right. And I think someone even said, what an incredible young woman that is. One of the people commented on her. Yeah, I don't know. It is difficult. Like you're talking about Seven. If someone remade Seven,
right,
and was beat for beat, would now the joy would be who's going to be the Kevin Spacey role? Right. Or are they going to actually show the head in the box or whatever it is? You know, you wonder what the differences are going to be. And I thought this one played it fairly straight, and it's an homage. It's not an homage. It's a compliment to the director and the writer that they just take it and basically do it scene for scene, because it is so compelling. And that's what makes it fascinating. And actually, the last line he says, I don't remember in the first one, I'm sure he said it, is when he said, yes, the police are protecting me. And then you go,
the police and this station.
And this station are definitely protecting me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
well, to me, it's interesting that we're talking about this, and you were talking about remaking Seven and the beats and all. And, the last film we did was Joel G, and I think because it was close enough to Macbeth that you could say maybe it's inspired. But you sat there and you were waiting for it to be more like Macbeth,
Right.
which I think on all of us had hindered our enjoyment of this. And we do have this. This is not quite Psycho, when they redid Psycho. But Debbie and I will say we were debating quite a few times.
And you know
since
what?
we watched the movie, which one we liked better.
And the reason is, it dawned on me just now when we're talking about this movie, what was so phenomenal about the movie, this one, is the storytelling. It doesn't matter whose story, who was the actors. That story is complete in itself. It's just a beautiful story, well crafted and put together. I don't know of an American movie that is similar to this one. It's so deep in intrigue, and you're trying to figure it out. And when you do, it's like, oh my gosh, this guy had a lot of work. I mean, in that weekend, he had to go back to. He was busy the whole time setting things up, in his mind, taking care of every little detail.
Watch number 2, Drishyam 2. You'll see. It takes it on a level that's insane. Knives Out. I think a Knives Out kind of idea, where you got this mystery that's throughout the whole film that kind of all wraps up at the end, is sort of in that line. I mean, that's a pretty.
He's treating his children and his family like actors, and okay, you got to do this, you have to play this role. So he's like the director in a movie,
Well, that's his whole point. Is
that's right?
Yeah,
and that's what the female
right.
cop knew. She goes,
she figured it out.
Yeah, he's treating this like a film. She nailed the whole. In the first one,
well, that was the same.
In the 2015, same thing.
But they did it both, right?
Right. But for some reason, I got it more in this one. I got more of what he was doing in this one than I did in the other one.
If they were going to remake this movie in America, I wonder what somebody like David Fincher would do with this kind of movie. It could be so much darker and so much more graphically violent, but the same spine and the same reveals would be there. Like, I've seen all of the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movies, and I saw his version, and I thought his version was fine. I mean, it's a Fincher movie. It looks amazing and everything, but it was kind of like, I don't know that I needed this, but it sure was fun to watch, kind of thing. By the way, if I was going to remake Seven, I think I would definitely cast Gwyneth Paltrow in the Kevin Spacey role, because that would be really kind of a fun
stunt casting.
Yeah, a little meta,
with like a always wearing a scarf or something around.
Exactly,
a choker. No, a choker.
A choker. Exactly.
Well, to me, when I think of an American film that's been remade that seems unbeatable, or it did, was Invasion of the Body Snatchers. You had the 1956 version, and then which was fantastic, and it was about McCarthyism,
right?
Or communism, either one. Either one. It's beautiful that no matter what part of political spectrum you were on, you could identify with the film. And then you had the amazing one from the 70s. Which was in its own way just as good, just as powerful.
Yeah, sure was.
And then there was the Abel Ferrara version, Body Snatchers, which was a smaller film but really good as well. And I'm like, this is a story you can't lose with. And then there was that horrible,
I was going to say,
Kidman version.
Shot in Baltimore.
Like, oh my God, how could they ruin this story? How could it's like, we're going to give it a happy ending?
And Daniel Craig's in that one too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, this is before he was James Bond.
Dragon Tattoo. Yeah, but this film has been remade almost a dozen times. I mean, you're looking at the IMDb, different languages, different names.
Yeah, even on, I forgot where we watched it, but it's like, we type in Drishyam, and then one of them's like Chinese Drishyam. I'm like, ooh, maybe that thing. My thoughts on this one is I gotta say, I love AJ. He's like my favorite Indian actor now.
He's your Amir Khan, you would say?
He is my Amir Khan.
Yeah.
And I love everything we've seen of him. And I think he's got tremendous presence.
Yeah.
And Tabu is my favorite female actress.
I like Tabu.
So to me,
the
2015, and I know, wait a minute, I just want to explain out there. I know it's not pronounced Tabu like we're pronouncing it, because someone pointed that out. And people, ever since we reviewed the first film, people are commenting, it's like, yeah, this version's good, but you got to see the original language one. because they said the guy was so much better. And, it's like what everyone's been saying. He's such a tremendous everyman in this. And he had, in his own way, in his smaller way, had tremendous amount of charisma. And it's like everyone's saying, the interplay between the couple is so cute, yet so realistic that you're really with them. And I'm watching this and I'm telling Debbie, these guys are great in this role. They are really fantastic.
It's funny because I didn't see him as an everyman. To me, he's a big charismatic dude. And if you're telling me he's the Jimmy Stewart of India, or then he is a charismatic actor. It's not like an everyman. If that were Rick Moranis or somebody like that, somebody plain and fancy, I'm thinking who would be an American?
Well, wait, I think
Casey Affleck. Casey Affleck would be like a.
I think you're picking up on what's called Big Dad energy. Maybe. And that's kind of what he exudes.
He definitely had Big Dad energy. Yeah, and they also played up his love of movies way more than the other one did.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
He keeps talking. I keep pointing at the IMDb, but he keeps talking about how movies are everything, and it shaped everything he did, and all his decision making about how he was setting up the whole scenario that he set up. So
well, to me, one plot point that was missing that I thought was a very big moment in the 2015 involved the ATM. Because they thought they had him trapped, that he couldn't have gotten the money out of the ATM on the one day, and they're like, it can't be him because it was the day that he says they were on the trip, and they wait for the video to come in, Tabu and all, and they wait, and they're like, this is it. The person's going to come in, and it's not going to be him, and we got him. He's a liar, and that it is him because she didn't realize that. He had thought that out and gotten money, where the bus would have stopped from the ATM. And that was a big moment that wasn't in here. And it's also interesting in this version. In the other film, they were Hindus, but in this one, they were Christians. They were, they were calling the guy, it was a church, and, they had a Bible next to their bed. And also, what I really like about the Indian films is that films from different regions, because we've had a couple films that were more Muslim heavy, and we had Sikhs and we had Hindus. So it's like we're seeing through the various cinemas of the different parts of the country, more of like more of the culture, than you might elsewhere. So
it's just a function too of the different
areas.
And I love the house. Their house better than the first Drishyam that we watched. Even though this is the first Drishyam, I like their house the best. It was beautifully, picked out.
Well, and the father-in-law was more involved in this one too.
The father-in-law and the brother-in-law.
Yeah, well, the brother-in-law I remember in the first one. The other thing that they didn't hit as hard was the actual kid, the son. We didn't see as much of him being. I know they flash back a little bit to her summer camp or whatever that was where she met him. But
they just put it in the montage, the musical montage.
Yeah, just slightly. It was just in there, kind of flash to it, and then we see him pull up to her, and then they flash again to him and his friend taking the box out of the shower and that whole thing.
Well, here's another thing I noticed, and maybe I'm wrong, but in Drishyam 2015. When the mother discovers him, if I'm not mistaken, she sort of like offers herself instead of the daughter. And in this one, he's more explicitly saying, well, maybe you can fulfill my wish, as he was saying, a bit, and then the daughter sees the camera.
This was a little more sinister than I think in the 2015. I think the 2015 was, they just were worried about being embarrassed and being shamed. This one, he was saying, okay, if it's not her, I guess it's going to be you then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is slightly more sinister. But again, the father in this one was just as sympathetic as the guy in the only sympathetic character in both these films was the father of the kid, because he knew the kid was spoiled, and he kind of, he was talking to her at the beginning of the film about, we got to control this kid a little bit more. Anyway, I just, it's an interesting thing to do this, to kind of, check out different regions of the same film. I found it, our remake on the YKY is less pleasurable because normally the remakes they're terrible.
Not tonight.
Not
No.
tonight. Well, not tonight's or YKY over there. John may disagree with that, but anyway. So okay, how many ladoos would you give this? Well, first of all, how many ladoos on the 2015, and then we'll do this.
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I don't remember.
Well, we gave the
I get it.
Zuby Doos. I think we all gave
That's
it.
true.
Oh, well, let's switch now. Okay, so how many, John? How many ladoos would you give 2015, and then this one?
I'd probably give them. I'd probably give them both 4s. I mean, like I said, the issue is if I saw the first one, the original, and never saw the other one,
We can't do that. You can't. I know,
but
we say that all the time.
But it does. It'd probably be a 5 otherwise. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But because you sit there and watch it, and really, you're not really engaged in the story. You're engaged in comparing it to the one you've already seen.
Right.
That's what I was
true.
doing.
That's true.
You know, so, and I feel bad about that because I did really appreciate a lot of the performances in it. But again, this is a movie that you should see. It's good. I mean, it's really good. Both of them are really good.
Yeah. Sean and Debbie.
5 and 5 for me. I love the both of them.
Wow.
For, just love the story.
5 and 5. It's
Just love the story.
it's all, to me, it's a great story, and the acting is different, but it's equally good. It's
Equally
hard.
good.
Yeah.
If I was going to recommend it to someone, I would probably recommend 2015. I don't know why, but I think
Well, I can see that. It's slicker. It's slicker.
Yeah, it's
it's
slicker.
a little more.
Definitely.
Professionally made is not the right word. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's a more
because-
polished. It's a
yeah,
more polished.
It's more polished.
film.
I don't know if
Polished.
this was the director's first film. I'm not sure because he wasn't originally going to direct it. The original director backed out, which is why
Why?
he jumped in. I don't know why.
But they're
he
smaller
probably was
films
like,
anyway.
"Oh, I don't want to hit."
Malayalam films are smaller films anyway, so they're not.
Yeah.
They're not the Bollywood, the big things. And
Right.
that 15 version was a big Bollywood
Right.
remake.
And of course, you add the star of 2015 and Taboo and all that. I mean,
Right.
it's just it is more polished. Drew.
I would say 4.5 out of 5 for both of them. I like that they're different enough that they're both worth watching, but it's hard, as John was saying, to watch one and then the other.
Yeah, no,
because you do end up comparing. That's also how I watched it. So
Yeah,
I
definitely
tried to
a weird-
focus more on the performances, really.
Yeah.
It's definitely a weird experiment to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a strange thing. Chris.
I'm going to go 4 and 4. Same, just kind of echoing everybody's point here. I enjoyed both of them tremendously. It would have been interesting to watch the other one first, or the original version first, and then see how you kind of compare it. But yeah, no, I mean, and yeah, I would say but I enjoyed both of them tremendously. They are extremely similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4 and 4 as well. I don't know if because I saw the other one that this one seemed a little clearer to me, and it's got to be why because I can't. I mean, it was a little more explicit. Things were explained slightly.
It
more.
had a little slower pace to it too.
Yeah,
I think,
And
which helped a lot
yeah.
of the exposition.
yeah,
You
and the
definitely
fact
could tell that.
they kept bringing up this guy loves movies.
Right.
I don't think they hit as many times that he's only got a 4th grade education as they did in the first one. I think it was a couple of
That
times.
was a much bigger point.
And I forget, was the 2015 version, was this the movie where he found an orphan by a dumpster? Was that Drishyam one? Which movie had the person?
Or was that
Yeah,
Min
that's
Al
right.
Morley?
No, yeah, I think you're right.
You're
I
right,
think in
Ralph.
this one, there was this whole in the 2015, there was a side story about him finding a baby by a dumpster, and that made him special in the village. So he had more of a hold on the now. 2013, all the villagers loved him, which is why they came to his aid when the
Right.
cops are digging up the. Oh, the other thing I heard was there was some copycat killing going on. People were doing the
I
same
heard that
thing.
too. Taking
cell phones
taking
and-
what he did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so that's a little freaky.
I do have a question. They kept calling him George Cuddy. Was his
Yeah.
first and last name, was that George Cuddy, or was it his whole name was George Cuddy?
Well, in the
I didn't-
subtitle, it was one word.
Oh,
yeah,
not on
with a
mine.
lowercase k.
Oh,
On
really?
my subtitles, it was 2 words. It was George
Oh,
Cuddy.
I watched
and
the
his
YouTube.
His wife was called Cuddy too. Yeah, it's on. I didn't realize this until I found it for this movie. I have Hulu,
It's on Hulu.
and it's like the package that includes Disney, which I do like to have, and ESPN, which I don't care about.
Yeah.
But it also turns out includes Hotstar, which is an Indian network with lots and lots of movies. So if we are looking for stuff to watch in the future and where to find it, you might find it on Hulu. And I didn't know that.
No, that wasn't on this our normal app where we get, was it? That was on Hulu?
I don't know. But I don't know. Am I wrong about the orphan thing? I swear that was.
No, you're right.
I can't remember that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I can't remember. Are you sure it's not Minna Morale or whatever?
No, he was mentioned as an orphan, and he sort of like, because of that, he was closer to his father-in-law and mother-in-law.
Yeah,
They
I don't know.
accepted
It
him.
might have been that superhero one you're talking about, Sean. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting confused. Anyway, so interesting experiment. That was. Go ahead.
I want to say one other thing. I meant to say this earlier. This director, this wasn't his first film.
Okay.
But the first film that he made in Tamil language was, I think it's called Papanasam, which is a remake of Drishyam. And then he also directed his Telugu debut, which was a movie called Drishyam 2. So he's told
He's all in. He's
this
all in
story.
Drishyam.
Yeah, he's told this story twice, and then also directed a different language, the sequel.
Wait a minute. But you're saying the other one he directed was not before this one.
No. First he did this one in 2013.
Right.
Then he did the Tamil remake in 2015, and then he did the Telugu Drishyam 2 in 2021.
I guess that's what I was asking. Was this his first film?
No, his first film was in 2007. It's called Detective. It's a crime thriller, and he's done several crime thrillers, but I think we know what his biggest ones were. Obviously,
Yeah, got it. So, all right, nice job. That was fun. So next week we're gonna no wheel. We're just gonna do Dongle. Okay. And John, since you're so hot on this, I guess you'll do the explaining.
Oh, I would love.
Or maybe
to.
you and Drew can tag team. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. So, you guys want to bring Wolverina on?
I'd be happy to have Wolverine on. We were going to bring her on Desi Pardesi, but
When is that scheduled to happen?
it's not.
It's not.
Oh, okay.
But she's our next guest.
Hey, by the way, we got a lot of hits on the Beauty and the Beast, more than normal with the kids on it. So
Oh,
good
great.
call. Yeah.
Hey, do you think the kids will be available for the next show that we're recording on remakes?
Well, we had them watch Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2.
Oh, no, we're not watching
Good.
that.
You know,
Evil
it's-
Dead 2 is
they
a fun
loved it.
family film.
They loved being on Beauty and the Beast.
So today we
Good.
were driving with little Mara in the back seat. And usually she's like playing, if we get a phone, she's playing Roblox or watching something on YouTube that like a kid would watch. And we're hearing like these adult voices coming from the phone. And we're like, hey, what are you watching back there? She goes, I'm watching the podcast, Beauty and the Beast. It's like, oh,
Can I
okay,
ask you,
you can do that.
has she subscribed? Does she hit the notification button so she knows when videos come out?
Yeah,
she liked
she
it.
subscribed.
The
She
big
liked
question.
it.
Did she
Did
like
they
it? Did she smash it? Okay, good.
All right.
You can tell her
it was
that's
really
actually
hilarious.
called that's actually called Ralphing when you watch a movie when you're in the car. So she's really part of the
She's
podcast
already
culture.
Ralph.
Call Ralphing something else.
Yeah, isn't
Yeah,
that vomiting?
yeah.
That's vomiting, right?
Well, I want to tell you, Mara and Emma have both made playing Roblox videos, which we haven't made public yet. But it's hilarious how they really go into the subscribe and hit the like button, hit the
They
notifications.
sound just like you, John.
Yeah, and they do it periodically.
Pitiful and begging. Is that what
Hey.
Begging.
It's not very nice.
When are you going to do the Instagram video, Ralph?
I do that when you guys get off.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Much
Talk
more
about
comfortable.
begging.
All right, guys. Have a good week. We'll see you next week for Dongle.
Dongle.
Dangle.
Hey, guys.
Thank you, Wolverina.
I'll
Thank
be
you.
dangling.
Thank you.